everyone and welcome once again to another commentary video. This time we are gonna cover this standard match that happened a few days ago in Global League. We are gonna cover Grimm against Rachel, and you would be thinking, wow, what is this guy doing playing Grimm? Yes, there are players who like to have alts with only Grimm matches. Some have argued that this might not be an alt, but I'm pretty sure it's an alt. He has only been playing with this account, if I remember correctly, at the moment of the recording of this video for 11 days, so it's definitely an alt account. As you can see, you can check out the stats of both players. Poland is a quite known player. He's very strong. He has faced top dogs of standard like Inkugar, and he has managed to get some wins against them. But right now he's facing Grimm Guy, an unknown guy. He's probably one of the top 10 standard players. He only plays standard Grimm Guy with this account, so I could dare to say that my suspects of being him Coast 7 might be lower, or him being mainly Fog guy, but who knows, maybe he's he could be perfectly Go 7 because or Torred, they play also standard, but maybe be Voice of Akasha or any all-time player that is not currently active on Global League. Grimm might be a very bad CO, but I think his reputation is a little bit exaggerated, in the sense that he's not that bad as you think, guys. He's very hard to use, and the reason for that is because you don't have you shouldn't never allow your opponent to get first strike, but that's almost virtually impossible to do in a tier 3 tier 4 where he belongs right now. When you are facing other Jake or yes, all movement COs, other is the nightmare for Grimm players. Once you get hit with this minus 20% defense and the way the terrain starts to scale, it's very hard to maintain your units alive, walling anything. But Grimm has some things going for him. If you play him on tier 3, there are a lack of movement COs. There is only 2 movement COs if you think about them like that. But Andy hates playing against Grimm, in the sense that Andy fears higher firepower COs such as Kindle on cities, such as Lash, not as much, because Lash is a little bit more dependent on the terrain, but still doesn't enjoy too much playing against Lash. And also Lash herself is a movement CO because she gets perfect movement as Storm on powers, but still Lash powers are not that low of a charge to be that common, so I think Grimm will be able to get his power before Lash even CO power, which as Lash I could try to get a CO power value if I might get some first strikes because of the perfect movement. But yeah, basically my point is that Grimm might have a better time playing against tier 3 COs than tier 4. Doesn't mean he's gonna have an edge against them or an advantage, but probably just a slightly better time that against tier 4 COs. Let me remove these. You can check out what exactly each CO does, as always, and I put a dossier about each of them. But anyways, let's use straight jump to the match. Oh, one thing, guys, I didn't talk about this map, which is Golden Prop Redux, if I remember correctly the name. It might look like a very open map, but it's not quite totally the opposite, but I think it's quite choky, in the sense that if you are committing to one side, it reminds me to the Vandalins, because you have to pay a check of movement, and you are also maybe get block on these bridges, as you can see, and all the bridges are warded by one forest, so your vehicles will pay one more of movement to move through them. Also, as you can see, there is one base against two base situation, and this from here will get the airport very locked easily. There is only 2 turns away from the anti-air, so that might be a problem because you will force a tank to repel the anti-air, but then you can use fake it and then commit to the middle, and you can do a lot of outmaneuvers against your opponent. But I'm very excited for this match, guys. I know this is not my common cup of tea. I normally do folk matches, but I think it might be very interesting and very enlightening to see, because we all love to expect some matches, whatever the mode it is. Let's go, guys, and let's just see the capture phase, because on this map Grimm Guy is the second player, but as you can see, he is just ignoring completely the fact of rushing the neutral property, and this might be the same case scenario as in Badum of Valhalla, where you have a similar opening where you have 2 bases and one of them in the middle is still yet to be captured. If I remember correctly, maybe it was one of the sizes, but what I'm trying to say is that if you skip the base and capture the city first, you might get the next turn a tank with the extra income you get because of the city. I don't think it is the case if you are second player. As you can see, Grimm has over 8,000, he has 9,000 of funds, so he's gonna will a tank. But if he was player 1, he would have done the same, and he will build the tank here, but the difference is that he could have not afforded without it. So I don't think if it's a good idea to do it as a second player as well, but I'm not gonna question him. So yeah, I'm not gonna question him at all. He's okay, guys. Yes, he has done it because of the second tank. Yeah, he might get the very first tank, but the very next turn he wouldn't be able to get this tank here. So it's completely justified of why I don't say that you should base skip, because in order to get profit out of base skipping, you should need to know about tank timings, but it might be a good idea to do it. As you can see now, that base skip forced Poland to do the same to match tanks against Grimm, but the difference is that Poland didn't get this city the very first, so not only Poland had to pay one more because he had to have this infantry, but also he has one less income because of this city. So Grimm was 2k ahead, and that forces Poland to skip now to match the tank, and now he's basically on the same terms as Grimm Guy, who has base skip 1 but got money in change of that base skipping. So right now Grimm is already with a slightly lead, but this infantry is completely exposed for a 2-hit KO. I don't know if he's gonna take it, because this infantry is gonna get exposed for this tank, but you don't want to attack to an infantry with a tank. So yeah, and oh yeah, you can attack for this. Don't mind the fog of the frog of fog saying stuff about the standard, but I think the reason he base skips is this one to get an edge against his opponents on the tank. And right now as you can see, it's not looking that bad for Grimm Guy. He is equal on the infantry, but he now managed not only to get extra income because of this city not skipping, but also an infantry kill. So he has already two slightly advantage over Poland. And I would dare to say that having 40 firepower once you get the com tower, even if you have minus defense, if you are able to secure your first strikes, is a positive day to day. The problem is once you are not able to guarantee that of getting the first strikes. But if your tanks are covering very aggressive caps that cannot be interrupted by infantry, it's a very nice of a bonus, because if one of these tanks tries to interrupt this, which is not gonna probably happen, it's gonna get destroyed. And Poland has to go all in to reinforce the middle and not lose it. But he has, if he tries to interrupt this, he's gonna fall, and one tank behind, and he is completely lost the early game, and probably Grimm would be able to capitalize on that advantage. But anyways, as we can see, this reminds me of the same opening that Grimm Guy did against a Bumble player on this same map. The difference is that Grimm was player 1 instead of player 2. And the advantage of getting the tank was much more obvious. And Grimm has to build the anti-air. The problem with this airport is that you won't be able to match the enemy airport with your own copters. If you want to deal with enemy copters, you have to build anti-air. If the airport was in the middle, you can build copters in order to match enemy copters, and that's something that probably Grimm prefers. But still, let's see what he does. He gets 2 first strikes on tanks, but that's quite bad. And there is a copter coming here, which is covering this tank on the city. So I don't know what is Grimm gonna do. This engagement was actually even. Yes, Grimm paid for it, but without considering the amount of cash that Grimm lost out of this is positive for Grimm, in the sense that Grimm is holding the higher ground and the HPs of the tanks are equal. So getting the first strike was not that bad for Grimm if you are staying on your own city. At the end of the day, staying on your own city is still gonna be quite decent. And Grimm tried to get the luck roll. This was actually not super likely, but possible to happen, because this 3 HP was sitting at 20 something HP plus the luck roll. It was not super likely, but probably it was possible. Let's leave it there. And right now all the fighting is concentrated on the middle, and as you can see, these tanks are completely covered by the anti-air, and you have nothing to attack to this anti-air. Yes, you can weaken the anti-air, but the good thing about Grimm anti-airs is that it doesn't matter how low HP they are, as long as they have around 4-5, they will be able still to one-shot or almost one-shot normal copters. But I wonder if Rachel is considering to use the CO power, because minus defense, it's so the reason why minus defense is so bad is because it increases all output of damage, not only damage but also lag. And Rachel CO power is 39 from 0 to 39 extra damage flat, so you can get 4 HP of damage. and if you multiply that by well, divide by 0.8, that's almost 50 extra damage. So you become a mini Nell, and you can do this kind of stuff. You can almost 2-hit KO tanks on roads. And I don't know if this is a worth engagement to take, but I don't know if I would. I think I would take half of a tank for an infantry almost every day of the week. This was a very bad roll, min roll. This was about 3 to 0 HP of damage, and that would have forced Grimm to pay some income at least. But now, oof. To be honest, I don't think it was the best use of CO power. There were not many engagements to be taken, and at the end of the day, if you have only weakened units to take your engagements with, lag is reduced by the amount of HP the attacker has. So you can only get 20% of your lag damage if you have 2 HP. And that was the case for most units that Rachel had weakened units. But let's see, because we are gonna see a Knuckle Duster by Grimm, and he has to get to this copter somehow. And this copter sadly is covered by this tank, so if he attacks this copter with this anti-air is gonna get quite crippled. It's not gonna get one shot, and the reason is now Grimm has only minus 10% defense, and if you manage to attack from the forest, you will sit in at 10% defense. So that would be good enough to be able to get another good shot and another copter. And as long as you have an anti-air around this HP and somewhat safe, it's gonna be completely fine for your copter. This copter is still able to one-shot infantry, one-shot copters, not as easy for infantry because infantry gets benefits from terrain, but copters never do that, so that's why it's so good. And right now, the airport by Rachel gets threatened, but Rachel can simply move his copter here and attack, and this anti-air won't be in range, because yeah, the problem is that if Grimm wants to sustain this interrupt, is forced to bring one of his tanks into this area, and then this tank will take a lot to go back to the middle. So that might be a win for Poland, because this capture is now secure, and Poland also is getting a lot of hits with his copter, which is covered by an anti-air, but still, if a copter gets 2 shots at 2 tanks, that's an even exchange, I would say. I would not worry about losing a copter after 2 hits on 2 tanks. Of course, if I can, I will try to get better hits, more hits, you know, but that's good enough for me. And as we can see, Grimm, instead of trying to desperately haul with his copter into this airport, he's trusting his huge firepower to bring this infantry below 2 HP with his powers next turn, and he jumps into this city capture. But if Grimm somehow manage to lose his airport, is gonna be very devastating for him. But since I said that Grimm enjoys his copter so much, and basically favorite unit by Grimm is copters, and also bombers, but not so much. I would say that he prefers the copters and bombers, because bombers don't get one shot by anti-air, but as Grimm they will. And a bomber with 2 HP is not gonna be do much, but it's still gonna be able to block and get shoots as big tanks. And Poland opts to one-shot this infantry in the city. This is another bad thing that Grimm has. His infantry gets one-shot by anti-air on cities. It's only 10% defense. It's like if you are sitting on a city with Grimm, you are sitting on planes as a normal CO, which is very bad. It's actually worse than that, because once you get one hit, your defense will drop a lot. 3% per each point of damage you got. And at least the airport is saved by Grimm Guy, but the problem is that even though his unit count is not looking that bad, he is sitting with a lot of injured units. Look at this 2, 5, 3 HP for infantry and this weakened tank. Right now he's not behind whatsoever, but I would say that on value he's slightly behind. But the threat of this Neo tank is going to be huge, because a Neo tank is a good enough unit to have as Grimm, that if you sit on, not on roads, but forests or friendly cities, you still are gonna defeat everything that comes at you, unless it's copters or another medium Neo tank. So you will be able to get rid of anything else. And I'm wondering, yeah, look at this tank now is trapped, and the only way to free this tank is to take a shoot with these two. I know you can simply attack this tank with this tank, and then you can run away. Never mind. But the problem if you attack with this tank into this tank is you don't want to lose a full tank for half of a tank, but you will regardless, because if you don't take it, you will lose this tank. If you take it, you will lose this tank. So yeah, that's a nice way to ensure that your opponent will lose a tank. So now it's Poland's choice to pick his own poison. What you want to lose this tank shooting at this, or lose this tank shooting at this? I would rather lose this tank, because if you shoot at this tank and run away with this one, you will still be catched by this new tank. So I would expect Poland to attack with this. Wait. A copter attacking into an anti-air. I mean, it's on roads, is slightly injured, and it's Grimm, so you will do a lot of damage, but still Grimm will do a lot of damage back. And look at this, without any power you do half of the damage you need to one-shot. So okay, so Poland is instead opts to simply spam copters and damage all Grimm's anti-airs. So probably his game plan is to spam copters, spam Lucky Lass, because if you are gonna spam Lucky Lass as Rachel, what you can do is spam copters, and copters are the best, the best users of luck rolls. If you are playing a luck roll CO, Nail, Flag, Jagger, will copters, because they are the best users for luck rolls. They get back any damage by other vehicles apart from anti-air. And still, if you are attacking a weakened anti-air with a luck seal, you are probably gonna kill it. And if you attack another copter that is another threat for copters, you will be able to almost one-shot it. Rachel can one-shot copters with her CO power activated, but I don't see a lot of engagements to be taken apart from this Neo tank on roads in range of this copter, and maybe a couple of more vehicles. You can attack this copter with this tank, but I wouldn't do that, honestly. So yeah, let's see. Okay, he does this one, which is huge. Oh my god, this is a huge value, because normally you would do 2 HP of damage in this engagement without lag. If you add lag, that's basically 5 extra HP of damage. So only this justified the lucky last on this turn. I'm gonna say this was a little dubious of a lucky last usage. I wouldn't have done that. It's a luck roll, so you have to count your possibilities, but this one was huge, and it was very likely. So yeah, this one was also necessary. But if you look at it, Rachel is not doing quite well on unit count. As you can see, after her turn, he's only 2 units ahead on unit count against Grimm, which is, yeah, many of Grimm's units are weakened, but these 3 HP anti-airs now with a Haymaker or a Knuckle Duster are gonna be able to deal with the copters, and the Neo Tank will have to retreat, in my opinion, but it's not that bad. Let's see, Knuckle Duster, I agree with Knuckle Duster. As Grimm, if I ever play Grimm, I like to get double CO powers in a row to mitigate my minus defense and get a huge value. If you do a Haymaker, you have to really justify it. But as you can see, now these anti-airs are gonna deal perfectly fine with the copters. I don't know if you are gonna attack this copter with this anti-air instead and use this to attack some infantry or try to save it, but we will see. As you can see, the copter stays on the airport. That means that probably Grimm was not planning to get a copter this turn, but still he wants to protect the airport. So now next turn this copter can run away, and I mean, wow, you used this anti-air is using range of the. Yeah, I mean, this anti-air was covering this tank, so you couldn't have done anything about it. But anyways, this copter gets killed by this anti-air, the Neo tank goes back to heal itself, the anti-air gets repairs, and yeah, even though a lot of Grimm units are weakened, he is gathering all of them around the middle, and Poland now has no powers and has barely any units to attack into here, and you are gonna attack into another Grimm power, so you might not want to do that, because now he will have a 5 HP Neo tank, which will be enough to deal with normal tanks, and you have 3 anti-airs that will be able to deal with copters. As I said, a 3 HP anti-air with Grimm power will still be able to deal with copters. It will do to 6-7 HP of damage, and that's completely enough to deal with them. And as you can see, Poland keeps up with his plan, which is basically dealing with Grimm's anti-airs and spam copters, and that not only will counter the unit that counters the copters that are Poland is spamming, but it synergizes with his strategy of trying lag rolls with the copters. And as I said, copters are very good users of lag rolls, but Grimm is starting to show a lead. As you can see, Last now is behind on unit count after his turn. Yes, Grimm is not doing very well on value, but still unit count is the king. 3 HP anti-air, which is only, 2400 of value, is going to be able to match a 9000 value. So yeah, you have to think, wow, okay, it was only a 5 HP tank. I thought that was an entire tank, and I was like, what the fuck. And yeah, as you can see, look, completely countered by a 3 HP. Yes, this anti-air now is at 2 HP and can get killed by an infantry with a decent lag roll, but are you really gonna sack an infantry for a 2 HP anti-air? That's not an equal trade. Yes, it will... Yeah, you know what I mean, guys. It's... Look, 2-hit KO. This tank dies. You have this copter to attack this copter if you really want. I don't know if I could done this. Because now your copter will die in the counter attack, but I couldn't done it, honestly. I could probably save this copter, and on the next turn, if this copter tries to attack something, I will be able to 2-hit KO it with my 5 HP anti-air and 1 HP remaining if I am not using a power with the 4 HP copter or the 2 HP anti-air. So as you can see, Grimm might be very sketchy in the sense of defense, but your anti-air and copters are a very big deal because copters have no defense, so they will get one shot regardless by anti-airs. So it's not like they are gonna be worse. So that scales very well with Grimm. The problem is that a very weakened anti-air of Grimm is gonna be able to be picked up by any unit, even if it's also an anti-air, as you see. But right now, last turn, I didn't mention it, but Grimm, Airport Lock, Poland. It's hard to see if you don't pay attention, and you might forget about it because, I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, it's not airport locking. Excuse me, guys. I just saw this anti-air here, and I assume it it did my maximum movement, but it actually, instead of moving here, which it's actually the airport lock, it moved here in order to go here, which is probably the place that wants to go. But Poland didn't get the chance of wielding one last copter. He needs to match this Neotank, which is now sitting at 7 HP, and now that's a problem that only a copter is not gonna be able to cut. And let's see with the Knuckle Duster what Grimm is gonna be able to do. He one-shots a tank, he one-shots an infantry. You can suck this tank into this infantry, it's gonna die, but I think you are gonna be able to do 1 HP of damage, but I don't know if you really want to do that. You can do that if you really don't want to do this property, but I don't think it's something worth of doing. Let's see what Grimm Guy does. He 2-hit KO this copter, sadly with 2 HP anti-air, even on Grimm powers it's not quite enough. Once you start getting to the 2 HP of damage, your firepower it starts to scale very slowly. The reason for that is damage is multiplied by the current HP you are having. So even if you have 100% increased damage, if you have 2 HP of damage, you only will be able to do 20% of the total damage you will do regardless. So it's like a hard cap for damage. Anyways, look at this. 4 HP tank attacking infantry, still 2-hit KOs. Like, amazing. That's why Grimm does well against tier 3 COs, even though I think he has not the advantage, in the sense that he will still be in a disadvantage. He doesn't care too much of having weakened units. He still is able to do a lot of damage with them, although it's not something pleasant to do, it's something that works. But anyways, as you can see now, Poland has only 11 units, and yes, he's gonna get an income advantage, but if you don't have units, you are not gonna be able to hold that tiny advantage on income for a very long time. And also, as you can see, Grimm is dealing with this difference. So Grimm not only now has the airport lock, last turn, but he will have the income advantage and a huge unit count lead. But let's see, because the lucky last, you can get a very nice roll against this Neo Tank. This Neo Tank has negative defense, even though it's on Grimm powers. It's still only sitting with 7 HP on plane, so you can attack it with your tank from the city, and you might do a lot of damage. I think Poland's only option left is to try to go for a very high luck rolls, so let's see how it goes. First of all, tries to luck roll against the copter, and that didn't end up very well. And as you can see, now he got a very high luck roll, which is nice. This is a very nice luck. No, it's Grimm after all. I think it was just average. Whoa, whoa, whoa. 5 of damage. That was a nice. That was normal. Some decent value. And since this Neo Tank is now sitting at 2 HP, this Neo Tank can go and deal with the anti-air, which is a bit of a waste, but he needs to get rid of this anti-air as soon as possible in order to start wielding copters again, in order to boost his unit count once again, because Poland what needs now is to fix his problem of the unit count. Yes, most of units of Grimm, again, they are weak, but they will be enough to block a unit and make that unit pay 1 turn to get rid of it. And that's very valuable once you start hitting the very late stages of a match, because you can, drown your opponent, overwhelm them, you know? And as you can see, Grimm keeps getting a lot of kills around this area because there is no anti-air coming, and you have a copter every single turn. And now there is not well, maybe there is. I think there is a lucky last somewhat near for the next turn, but still, next turn I don't think it's gonna be a lucky last. So you are gonna have trouble dealing with this copter, and you not even if you are a Luxio, you cannot rely on sacking infantry to get rid of big units and ignoring the weaknesses of engagements. So yeah, and now I think Grimm can perfectly front switch into this area and recap these cities. And the reason for that is he doesn't want to pressure more into this area if he can avoid it, because it's gonna get very ugly very fast if he does, even though he is enjoying a big advantage. So Poland gets a first strike on this tank, which is very huge, but still there is an uncontested copter, and this anti-air will take 2 turns to arrive here. So yeah, very good. One shot the infantry capping the city, and the recon is gonna go here and deal with more infantry. The problem is that there is an anti-air that is gonna be able to deal with copters from the airport and the recon. But still, this Neo Tank being here guarding this front is a complete waste, because it will take so much time for it to go somewhere else. And as you can see, the copter is perfectly capable of dealing with everything around the area. And as you can see, this push is completely out of the question now. Grimm is starting to play a little bit more consolidated, in the sense that he has now a huge unit count advantage, and a good way to consolidate that is with indirects. And yes, you can wall break this easily with 2 tanks. Yeah, you can do it. The problem is that you won't have enough units to do it, because, well, 11 units. And let's see if Rachel doesn't give up the next turn, because for me this is in the range of giving up and resigning, in my opinion. Another one shot on the infantry, and another lucky last. And honestly, what I could do is trying to reach this artillery and trying to also get a luck roll on this Neo Tank, because a 4 HP Neo Tank on a city as Grimm, it's very easy to pick up with luck rolls, but I still I'm a bit surprised that Rachel didn't try to get any missiles. They could have gotten a good... Wow, that was a good roll. They could have been able to get good value. It was average because it's around extra 5 HP of damage against Grimm. It's on plane, so it's a high roll, this one. But at the end of the day, you have not gotten too much out of it. You have not gotten many kills. Grimm is gonna be able to still one-shot a lot of stuff, and yeah, the artillery is sitting out at 1 HP, which is the same, but this artillery will still be able to at least make pain one of the few units that Poland has left pay a turn, and that's a huge deal, because right now with 10 units that's 10% of your army attacking a 1 HP artillery, and this artillery can perfectly repair, and in 2 or 3 turns it will be 5 HP or 7, and that will be enough to do a lot of damage. And as you can see, this front is collapsing and Grimm is taking back his properties. Yes, this anti-air will be able to kill this copter, but this tank is not in range to attacking these tanks, and the tanks will be able to get rid of the anti-air, and you are getting overwhelmed on this area, and Grimm is capitalizing on that. And Poland has to do something not only now about the unit count, which is abysmal, 7 unit count. Yes, he still has to will units, but that's abysmal, and he's also falling behind on income. So I'm just still curious of when is Poland gonna resign, because this is looking very bad for him. Yes, it's a resign. Anyways, I'm not surprised at this point that he resigned. The problem when you fall behind on a standard is very hard to recover. In Fog it's a little bit easier because opponents are more likely, even pro players, to do mistakes since you don't have perfect information. But let's check out the stats. And as you can see, the death kills ratio is 43 against 31, and Rachel actually used 4 lucky lass. Wow, that's the most amount of lucky lass I have ever seen on a game. And actually they were very equal on income for most of the match, and yeah, it was quite interesting to see this match. Thank you for watching, and if you have to take a lesson out of this match, is that unit count is very important. Once you get an advantage on unit count, even though, look, most of Grimm's units are weakened, you are starting to get overwhelmed because you get pressure everywhere, and if you start getting pressure everywhere, you will start losing properties, you will start losing everything, and that's not something very nice, because that will lead to maybe your com tower falling, or maybe even more cities, and that maybe will provoke you to not be able to match the tech up of your enemy. Yeah, and as you can see, I really enjoyed this match. I hope you too did it, and thank you for watching, guys. Bye bye.